Good morning, friends. Welcome to the Taub Show. We have some breaking news or news that is about to break around 9 a.m. So I might be cutting into the show again, news that might break relating to Donald Trump. Now, I'm not saying it is a bombshell, but I am saying that it is the Lincoln Project, who is over on Blue Sky claiming, as of last night, that at 9 a.m. today, they have got some huge news for us. So let me share that with you, and then we will dive right into why Donald Trump is having a panic attack. And yes, panic attack. Like he is so freaked out that he is even attacking his base, calling them stupid and weaklings, and trying to break up with them before they break up with him. So let me share what's going on over at the Lincoln Project. What you see here appears to be an aerial shot of the White House with all these geolocators on the top. And what the Lincoln Project is saying here is Lincoln on the beat, ho. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. ET, no round twos. Now, it's not usual that the Lincoln Project, born from conservative commentators who are never Trumpers, would, be in a situation where they're calling people hoes. But if you understand the reference, you'll understand what is going on right now. And that is this. That aerial shot of the White House is meant to replicate Kendrick Lamar. Stay with me, folks who aren't as familiar. Kendrick Lamar, who is a really well-established and famous hip-hop artist. Kendrick Lamar has a song called Not Like Us. You must know who he is because he sung at last year's Super Bowl halftime show. And the thing is, Kendrick, obviously, if you know how this goes, Kendrick is in a huge beef with Drake. And you don't need to know all about this to know that there is an aerial shot for the release of the song Not Like Us, which is Kendrick's articulating more of his beef about Drake being a sellout, a phony, non-authentic, etc., not like us. Well, when that is released, either the album or the song, there is an aerial shot of Drake's home with those geolocators. So you might be saying, why is the Lincoln Project comparing the White House, Donald Trump's house, to Drake's house? Well, in the song Not Like Us, part of the beef is, and this is ongoing, Kendrick accuses Drake of being a pedophile. I kid you not. And in the song, there is the word minor, M-I-N-O-R. That's what I've got for you guys. So while we're talking, I need to go keep my eye. Hold on. I'm going to go over to the Lincoln Project on Blue Sky. Oh, here we go, guys. It flippin' dropped. Maybe this is just an ad, but it's breaking news as far as I'm concerned because we are going to watch that Lincoln Project bombshell video right now together. Are you with me? Fan-flippin-tastic. Here we go. So I think we're looking at the same thing. We're on my Blue Sky page. Going to blow it up. Here we go. And it says, I see mad people, right? That's a reference to the film with, I think, Haley Joel Osment. I see dead people. I think the movie was called The Sixth Sense. Let's play it. You ready, guys? I am.
Psst, I see mad people.
Oops. Sorry, guys. I wanted to play that. Let me start. Here we go.
Psst, I see mad people.
Hey, catch up on the wall, yo.
Hey, catch up on the wall, yo. Bonnie says they're on the desk, where did they go? Pam down in the shredder room, that's what we know. Your story has more holes than your course in Mar-a-Lago. What's up with these lame excuses blaming Obama? Your whole party hates you, your hat, and your mama. How many names you got? What cat got your tongue? You forget your BFF Jack who likes him young. Cover your ass and hide the files that you took. Come on, Donnie boy, let's take a look. Can we take a peek in that little black book? Can't cover up a cover up. It really makes you think. Redact all you want, boy. You running out of ink. Say Trump, I hear you like I'm young. So did what? Cat got your tongue? You thought the story ended now that old Jeff's dead. Better pray a prison cell has a tan in bed. You know the best words, the best people, everything the best. So spill the tea on your besties from the lowly to express. Not the only politics with freak off miles. Certified cover up, certified Epstein files. Wop, 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 wop. Trump really sucks. Wop, 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 wop. I'ma do my stuff. You know Epstein was the plan's designer. Bet your Trump's in the files in bed with A minor. Trump not like us. 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 Trump not like us.
Holy shiitake. Was that good? If you know the song, Not Like Us. Okay, that's a way to begin the show. Yeah. So not as much as a bombshell as a incredible flippin' dance tune to jam with. Okay, that gets us started. What the hell is going on? Let me break it down into two pieces. It is about his fan base, and it's about the finance bros. Fan base, finance bros. Donald Trump is hitting a wall, maybe for the first time, and that wall is when his BS isn't working. He is engaging in an attempt, for some reason, to cover up full disclosure of the files related to the prosecution of Jeff Epstein and also, obviously, Ghislaine Maxwell. He is attempting to change the conversation. And this has not been acceptable to MAGA, his fan base. And what happened, which is shocking, yesterday, Wednesday, when we were having a vacation day, as it always is, Donald Trump goes on Truth Social and lashes out at his fan base, his supporters. He calls them stupid. He calls them weaklings. And he triples down on the unbelievable story, like all of his stories are, but this for his fan base is even more unbelievable. He triples down on the claim that the entire Jeff Epstein story, we don't know how wide, maybe even the allegations that he was a child rapist, we don't know how broad he's saying it, but he's saying the whole, there must be something more in the Epstein files besides one man and one woman responsible. That if Epstein was engaged in child sex trafficking, he was not the only customer. This is basically the understanding that all of us have, right? I'm going to tell you what people, even those who don't believe in crazy QAnon conspiracy theories, believe. One, Jeff Epstein, who was a child sex trafficker. Two, there are over 1,000 victims. This is something the Department of Justice said. Three, Ghislaine Maxwell was involved in his purveying and grooming of children. Four, one of the young girls who was trafficked, and specifically trafficked also to Prince Andrew by Jeff Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Virginia Jeffrey, that she was found, recruited from Mar-a-Lago. That's where she worked before she was recruited to be sex trafficked by Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeff Epstein. All of that we know. Those are facts. What we also know, again, we all share facts, that Jeff Epstein had very few qualifications and yet was given a shit ton of money from extremely wealthy people to manage over the years. He flew many powerful men, including Bill Clinton and others, to his private island where there were young girls where there were children being trafficked to powerful men. We know that too. And what we also suspect, well, we know because the documents have been redacted, that there are over 100 people, men, who are somehow connected to this, but we don't know specifically which one of them, other than Prince Andrew, because he settled that case, and there are photos of him with Joffrey, and she said that he abused her. We don't know how many and who they are of these men who were participating in the trafficking of children. So that is what we can all agree on. I think we can all agree on that it smells like blackmail, that there are a lot more people involved. So that is basic common sense based on the records and the reporting. And yet, Donald Trump wants to change the conversation. He doesn't want to reveal this. What we also do is that it was Don Jr., it was Donald Trump, it was MAGA, like MAGA's biggest voices like Don Bongino and many others. I could go on and on about this, but you know that they were hell-bent on, Alex Jones as well, that they were hell-bent on having these Epstein files released. And that there were many times when people thought this was going to be blown open. And the reason why is they claimed that there were a lot of powerful Democrats, I think they meant Bill Clinton included. And you saw his cartoon face in that video. So all of that is true. And now all of a sudden, and we also, of course, let me just back up. Donald Trump was his friend for over 10 years. We know he traveled with Jeff Epstein. We also know he partied with him. We've seen videos. We also know that it was Jeff Epstein who introduced Donald to Melania. In fact, according to Jeff Epstein, the first time they engaged in, how shall I put it, sex, was on his airplane. I don't mean Jeff Epstein and Donald. I mean Melania and Donald. So these are the stories that we know, okay? These are what we know. We also know from an interview. Now I'm getting into a little, let me back up. So if we know this, the deal is, why in the world would all these years Donald Trump's people be pushing to release these Epstein files if Donald knew that his name was implicated? And so there are a lot of questions, right? The other story Donald was telling is that the left made this up just to smear him, which also doesn't make sense because that wasn't what was happening. And if they made that up to smear him, why wouldn't they have released it during the last presidential campaign? The documents, right? They could have. Joe Biden was president, right? Instead, at the very end of the Biden presidency, they released the files, but they were heavily redacted without the men's names being named. Okay. So we have these weird questions. The third question is, why weren't any of these people prosecuted? And that may be because of that terrible sweetheart deal from back in 2008 era, 2005, 2008 era, when he actually served time in Florida in federal prison. Okay. So we have all of these questions. And while we're sitting on these, it really seems weird that Donald Trump would suddenly not want this to be released. So there's two theories that could both be true. One is that Donald Trump is deeply, deeply worried that he is personally implicated in these files, that there are files including complaints against him. That could be it, but he would have known that before. So what's our answer to that? Well, he also promised to sit down with Robert Mueller. He also never did. He also promised to release his tax returns and never did. So he's a fan of following whatever hype and sensation, and when the rubber meets the road, if it will hurt him, pulling out the rug, right? So that could be it. The second thing, though, could be that his memory is just so bad, he doesn't know or remember what's in those files. In fact, the man doesn't read, so he may not actually know what's in there, right? But he does know what he did. And he knows his like a guilty conscience. He is the Lady Macbeth of this story. And instead of out, damn spat, out, I say, he's like, out, Epstein files, out, I say. He cannot wash them off. He knows he has a guilty conscience, and God knows he thinks there's something in there that will come out. That's a possibility. A third possibility, my friends, is he was planning to release them, at least in part, with anything about him not in it. But there are very powerful men who are either paying him to stay silent or scaring the F out of him so he does. Now, Michael Wolff, again, now this gets a little less credible, the sensationalist author who did sit down and interview Jeff Epstein, has Epstein on tape saying that he was afraid of Donald Trump. Well, that seems wise because the more we hear from Donald Trump, the more it seems like Donald had him killed. Or he said, wouldn't it be, it's sort of, could someone please rid me of this meddlesome priest? The actual translation was this turbulent priest. You know that reference? Hold on. I'm going to rid me. Okay. Will someone please rid me of this meddlesome priest is, it's the actual quote is this troublesome or turbulent priest. And this came from King Henry II of England in 1170. Amazing. Back in 1170 in Normandy, he wanted Thomas Becket to be dispatched. And he apparently said, will no one rid me of him? A priest. Well, this is in the play Becket. Will no one rid me of him? A priest who jeers at me and does me injury. Okay. So that is what King Henry II wanted. And that was what happened. He was murdered. And after Becket was murdered, he was venerated and King Henry II was vilified. However, let's just go back to this. Donald Trump, it seems to me, it's not far-fetched to suggest that he said, will someone not rid me of this meddlesome Jeff Epstein? And Epstein was killed, right? We're missing those 3 minutes of the tape. Or Epstein was suggested that he find a way to commit suicide and given a belt. Who knows? Or a towel, who knows? But it seems likely, at the very least, that Donald Trump is very pleased that Epstein is dead. And we'll get to that in a second. So this would also align with his either being paid or being afraid, because there are very powerful people who also arguably could say to someone, would someone please rid me of this meddlesome president? I'm just saying what it seems. So I think Donald Trump is in a full-blown panic attack because he's afraid either someone's going to take the money away that he's been promised or given, or he's afraid that someone will kill him if he actually releases all this stuff. Okay, so this gets me to yesterday, which was the first time I think I've ever seen Donald Trump attack his own base and call them stupid. So let's look at this. I'm cutting this in half. This was his True Social post. And by the way, let me just say, remember how yesterday we talked about the concept of being ratioed, where you have more people responding than sharing or liking? He's hugely ratioed on this too. So let me just share this with you. Okay. Oops. I just disappeared. Not what I wanted. Okay. This is his post, and I'm going to read it in a petulant manner if I can. It's kind of hard because it's kind of unhinged. And he gets to the point, though, at some point. The radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again, just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a totally fake and made up story used in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in the 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They are no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. And also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam, what we will forever call, what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have brought into, let me just back up. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeff Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this bullshit, hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably never will. Even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years, I have had more success in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history, and all these people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and the success-starved Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. Thank you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Okay. First of all, why am I not seeing the part where he calls them all weaklings? But that is fine. That is elsewhere. But look at this. None of this is true. We all know that Russia interfered in the election. Now, the next thing that happened last night was that Donald Trump had the Manhattan prosecutor who handled Epstein's case, Maureen Comey, who happens to be FBI director's daughter, had her fired. So if Donald Trump was trying to make the Epstein story go away, attacking his base and calling them stupid, and hold on a second. Here we go. I'm going to share this video with you. Let me get this video for you. I've got a little more for you where he calls them stupid. So let me share that with you. And then you will see that he has totally lost his mind. His approach now is called DARVO, right? We talk about abusers using this. DARVO stands for deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. So he is now treating his fan base as the offender, right? He is now saying, you want this information from me? You are a bunch of idiots. Let me share that screen with you. This is where he calls them stupid people. Here we go.
No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats.
Frustrated by the growing questions, President Donald Trump lashed out at his own supporters.
They're stupid people.
Over the nonstop criticism of his handling of the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein.
He's dead. He's gone. And all it is certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats.
In yet another blistering post on social media, Trump said those who keep asking questions are weaklings and said, I don't want their support anymore.
I lost a lot of faith in certain people, yeah.
Is it incompetence or lying? I mean, that really is the question, is it not?
Trump's biggest backers have spent years pushing conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein's death in prison and claims of a client list featuring the rich and powerful. The White House even held an event for conservative influencers, handing out what it claimed were some of the Epstein files. But last week, Trump's attorney general abruptly announced there is no client list and that Epstein died by suicide.
Nothing about Epstein. I'm not going to talk about Epstein.
Asked about his own well-documented connections to Epstein, Trump responded by drumming up a new conspiracy theory.
I would say that, these files were made up by Comey. They were made up by...
So we did, by the way, I did read the weaklings. It just skipped by me in my whining voice. Okay, so only 3% of Americans don't want to see, apparently, these files. It is crazy. So let's just be clear. I think we need to back up here. Donald Trump is really obsessed. Again, we're talking about the fan base. Now we're going to talk about the finance bros in a second. Donald Trump is really obsessed with this notion that if Jeff Epstein is dead, so should this story be. He's also saying weird things like, it's not that interesting or there's nothing exciting here. And it's like, it's not entertainment. People want justice. So let's play that clip. You were just looking at that with Donald Trump in the White House. Hold on, here we go.
Wanting to release more documents to finally put this controversy to bed.
Yeah, whatever's credible, she can release. If a document is credible, if a document's there that is credible, she can release. I think it's good. But it's just a subject. He's dead. He's gone, and all it is the certain Republicans got duped by the Democrats, and they're following a Democrat playbook, and no different than Russia, and all the other hoaxes. They're started by the Democrats, and some Republicans. In this case, I was surprised, but they got duped.
But have you talked about it? Have you talked about it with her the last few days?
President, first of all, remember your high-ranking officials, whether it's been your FBI director or Pam Bondi, they have made some inconsistent statements in the past. You've had.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak about him, but I can say that Pam Bondi, I really think that she's done very good. She says, I gave you all the credible information. And if she finds any more credible information, she'll give that too. What more can she do than that? I mean, honestly, what more can she do? And we do have bigger problems. You know, we have problems with millions of illegal people that came in here, and they're killers and murderers. We have 11,888 murderers that were allowed into our country by Biden, sleepy Joe Biden, stupid Joe Biden. He allowed them into our country. And you know what? We got to do something about it. She's got a lot of things she's working on. And,
Look at him. He's the color of burnt sienna. Now, everything he's saying is a lie there. And I'm wondering when his fan base will realize if he can lie to their faces about who was pushing the Epstein files and trying to get the information released and stories which seem credible about many powerful men being involved in sex trafficking of children, right? He wants his fan base to believe it was the Democrats. Again, this doesn't make any sense. Also, he's talking about in his True Social posts and in his public appearances how the Democrats have pushed this for 8 years. I think you know that Donald Trump was president when Jeff Epstein was indicted for the second time in 2019. Donald Trump was president when Jeff Epstein was found dead in his cell. Donald Trump was president when Ghislaine Maxwell was prosecuted, tried, sentenced, and is now sitting in prison. So was he part of a hoax then? It doesn't make sense. And then this part about him, about him being dead. I want to give this to you. What I was sharing with you was scenes yesterday from the White House on Tuesday after our show. He stopped on the tarmac and he keeps talking about Epstein being dead. Let's play this.
People to move on, but I'm curious, why do you think your supporters in particular have been so interested in the Epstein story?
I don't understand
about how it's been handled.
I don't understand it. Why they would be so interested. He's dead for a long time.
He's dead for a long time. This was one of his best friends. Let's continue.
Never a big factor in terms of life.
He was never a big factor in terms of life. Is he trying to say he was not a famous person or a public figure or a subject of interest when he was living? Nothing could be further from the truth.
I don't understand what the interest or what the fascination is. I really don't. And the credible information's been given. Don't forget, we went through years of the Mueller witch hunt and all of the different things, the Steele dossier, which was all fake. All that information was fake. But I don't understand why.
All that information was not fake. The Steele dossier, there were some aspects that hadn't contained intelligence that was raw and inaccurate, etc. But if you read the full Mueller report, which I did, if you watched Mueller's testimony, which I did, if you even happened to comment that night after in the end of July, I think it was like July 29th-ish, 2019, when Robert Mueller, the date he testified before Congress, he happened to actually be the next day on Ari Melber, describing that while his delivery was weak, the information was profound and frightening, that Mueller said not only did Russia interfere in our election, but also they were still working and engaging in these kinds of active measures. Okay, so that is a fact. Even if there was not enough evidence to prosecute people like Don Jr. for conspiracy, because they didn't have enough evidence of an actual agreement between the Russians who voluntarily did interfere in our election and the Trump campaign, right? Also, I mean, the other part is there was a second volume of the Mueller report where they talked about obstruction, and Robert Mueller and his team laid out the grounds for many examples of prosecutable obstruction activities. And then, of course, nothing happened. Instead of appointing a special counsel, what we had was Merrick Garland ignored the findings in the report. So it was not, by the way, a hoax. There are also indictments against the Russian internet organization. I mean, I could just go on and on. Not a hoax. Not only that, if it was such a flippant hoax, why did he have to pardon so many of the people involved? Okay, let's continue.
Why the Jeffrey Epstein case would be of interest to anybody. It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't.
It's not about whether it's boring. We're not looking for titillation or entertainment. We're looking for justice.
Understand why it keeps going. I think, well, really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
So now he's claiming anything credible, let them have it. So in other words, anything mentioned him will come out. Anything mentioned by anyone he's afraid of or respects or paid him will come out before it is shared. I mean, in other words, it will be extracted. We will not see it, is what he's saying. I don't think this is going to satisfy anyone. Okay, I got a little more. Here is Donald Trump. We're back at the White House. They're still asking him questions, and he literally flees the scene. Let me play this for you.
Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
Holy shit. Did you see that? I just have to play that for you again. Would you consider appointing a special counsel for the Jeffrey Epstein investigation? And he's not on point. He just says, I have nothing to do with it. That is his normal strategy for denial. It's what E. Jean Carroll said that Donald Trump told his White House staff, that if you're accused of something, you just deny. That's his first step. I had nothing to do with it. Why wouldn't you answer the question? Let's watch that again.
President Trump, would you consider appointing a special counsel to investigate the Jeffrey Epstein investigation?
I have nothing to do with it.
Huh. I have nothing to do with it. He wants this thing to go away. Now, obviously, I have more than Epstein to share with you today, but I still have a little bit more for you. Let me share with you what some of the Democrats are doing, because they are doing a good job saying, let's get this all out. I have seen from, more to the left, more to the center, Democrats saying this has to come out. And they're not being intimidated by Donald Trump suggesting that this is a political game. They're focused on enough already. Get all the information out there. Obviously, not the names of the victims. And let's play this. So this is Robert Garcia, Democrat, speaking in Congress about this.
Today to demand that Donald Trump and our Attorney General come clean to the American people and release the Epstein files. Now, this weekend, Donald Trump said, and I quote, "Let's not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about." Well, Mr. President, a lot of people actually care. And we know that MAGA was all in on Jeffrey Epstein. Now, my Republican colleagues have sent letters, they've posted, they've demanded disclosure. Donald Trump Jr., the president's own son, has tweeted dozens of times about this case. FBI Director Kash Patel swore under oath in front of the Senate that he would be transparent with the American public and release the Epstein files. He said, and I want to quote, "Make sure the American public knows the full weight of what happened," that he would do that. That was his quote. Now, in February, our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, told Fox News that Epstein's client list was, again, and I quote, "sitting on my desk right now to review," end quote. Now, they claim there was never a list. And this weekend, Donald Trump claimed that the files were written by Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Biden administration. These are bizarre reversals. And it's obvious to the American public. Someone is lying, and someone is trying to hide something. So let's look at the facts. We know Elon Musk said publicly on June 5th that Donald Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files. We know that Epstein died in a federal prison overseen by Donald Trump's Department of Justice. We know that Jeffrey Epstein in 2008 was given a generous non-prosecution agreement for sex trafficking charges. Now, that agreement let him continue his criminal activities, and that agreement was offered by Alexandra Acosta, who was Donald Trump's chosen Secretary of Labor. That's not all. We know that Donald Trump and Epstein had a long-standing personal relationship. Epstein told one writer, and I quote, "I was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years," end quote. Donald Trump told New York Magazine in 2002, and I want to quote this. Quote, this is Donald Trump. "I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific."
I just want to pause and thank you so much, Tesla's Taco, for that contribution. I really appreciate it. Sometimes I think my family thinks I'm nuts because I'm obsessed with putting this show out. Actually, Michael doesn't. He made my coffee this morning, but I really appreciate your being here and your support. Let's continue.
Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life, unquote. That's disgusting, wrong, and we must inquire more information. The truth is we don't know what the facts are in this case.
Oh my goodness. That was not a solicitation for another contribution, but thank you, Alto Eager. I want to read what you had to say here. He also wants to distract from other horrors like demanding access to voter. Let me actually show this, what you said. He wants to distract from other horrors like demanding access to voter data and voting machines from all the states. The more vicious the infighting, the more awful things they don't want seen. That is accurate. Let's go. Sorry, here we go.
I rise today to demand that Donald Trump.
That was the end of that. Okay, so that is not the end of our piece on Epstein, right? I told you we're talking about his fan base and we're talking about the finance bros. But let's first, our piece on Donald Trump, the wall is closing in. Let's first, let's give Erin Burnett from CNN an opportunity to show us her perspective. And then after that, Donald himself calling in to a program and not making things better. Let's play it.
And as for Trump calling it a hoax, it was not a hoax in 2015 when Trump used the scandal to try to attack his opponents.
Bill Clinton. Nice guy. Got a lot of problems coming up, in my opinion, with the famous island with Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of problems.
He said it. So much for it being a Democratic hoax. Now let's listen to Donald Trump calling in on this.
What are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the...
And sorry, it's a little loud, so I'm going to lower it for you. This is, I guess, I don't know what show this is, but let's go with it. What's wild here, let me just pop my face in. What's wild on this show is that they are really trying to get Donald Trump to commit to getting these Epstein files out there. Okay, let's play this. Actually, you know what? We should be calling it the Epstein cover-up instead of the Epstein files. They want an investigation into this. They don't want to cover up. Let's play it.
What do you think, what are the things that are most important that you would like to see the FBI get to the bottom of?
I think they could look at all of it. It's all the same scam. They could look at this Jeffrey Epstein hoax also. because that's the same stuff. That's all put out by Democrats.
Yeah.
And, some of the naive Republicans fall right into line like they always do. They just don't have the sustainability. They don't have they don't have that stick to it like glue. The Democrats, they have bad policy, they have bad candidates, they have bad everything, but they stick together.
By the way, this is like such bullshit. That the whole point, the whole expression is that in order to choose a candidate, Democrats need to fall in love, but Republicans just fall in line. You know that, in fact, there is much more unity across MAGA and across the Republicans. He's just trying to whip them into line. Let's continue.
The Republicans don't do that, but they ought to look into the Jeffrey Epstein hoax too, because that's another hoax that's frankly put out by the pushing the Republicans and put out by the Democrats.
No, they definitely set the Republicans up. One big prosecutor look at it all. Would that make you feel good, you think?
Well, I think it's in the case of Epstein, they've already looked at it, and they are looking at it, and I think all they have to do is put out anything credible. But, that was run by the Biden administration for 4 years. I can imagine what they put into files.
Okay. He keeps saying the word credible. He's already talking about editing. It was not run by the Biden administration for 4 years. It was on his watch. But okay, blame Biden.
Just like they did with the others. I mean, the Steele dossier was a total fake.
Right.
It took 2 years to figure that out for the people. And all of the things that you mentioned were fake. Yeah. So I would imagine if they were run by Chris Wray and they were run by Comey, and because it was actually even before that administration, they've been running these files. And so much of the things that we found were fake with me. But especially you look at that Steele dossier where they paid like 14 or 16 million. That's more than James Patterson gets paid to do a #1 bestseller.
Isn't that crazy?
And the thing turned out to be a total scam. So frankly, I think I love that they're looking at all this stuff. If they are, I hope they are.
Yeah, we've definitely confirmed it. They definitely are.
Mr. President, this is something that could give the American people answers on 3 different elections, 2016, 2020, and 2024.
Okay, I mean, you can see. I'm going to stop here. They're pushing and pushing him on this. Okay. I need to now pivot. So he is facing a lot of pressure from his fan base, but he's also facing incredible pressure from the finance bros. So yesterday, Donald Trump has been obsessed, as you probably know, with the Fed chair, Jerome Powell. And he has been obsessed with him because he wants him to lower interest rates to juice up the economy. And I'll just keep it as simple as that. The way the Fed is designed is it's a quasi-governmental body. That's why we call it the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. It's kind of like our central bank. And it's not, although the president appoints with Senate confirmation the chair, he's supposed to have enormous independence. Just so you know, when Donald Trump came into office, he appointed Jerome Powell to chair the Fed. You might remember that happened, even though Donald Trump doesn't. So I want to share with you, he's obsessed with this. Now, the most important thing to tell you is yesterday, when he was suggesting that he might fire Jerome Powell, let's take a look at what happened. This is a screenshot from Justin Wolfers. This was the S&P 500. You can see in red, when Trump rumored to fire Fed Chair Powell, you see the peak right there. And then the minute that news got out, the drop. And then when he denied the rumor, boom, it went back up. So, a lot of people can make money off of this crazy volatility. In this instance, I'm not sure if he warned anyone in advance, but let's look. Let's take a look. I'm going to show you what he's been saying, and then I'm going to show you the pushback from the finance bros on this. Okay, so let me share with you this video about Jerome Powell. Here we go.
Well, he's a terrible Fed chair. I was surprised he was appointed. I was surprised, frankly, that...
I was surprised that he was appointed. He appointed him, but continue.
Biden put him in and extended him. But...
Okay, that is not That's not true. I mean, I don't even know. I don't even know how to even tell you this other than the fact that it is not true. I'm going to go to the Fed history website just because I want to not just say what he's saying is a lie. I want to show you how you can find out stuff is a lie. Okay. So here is a website, federalreservehistory.org. Here is Jerome Powell. So he was appointed in 2018, right? So he was on the board of governors of the Fed from 2012 to 2018. And then 2018, when Donald Trump was president, he appointed Powell, right? He appointed him after Yellen had served her term. Okay, so he was appointed, he took his office February 5th, 2018 for a 4-year term. Okay, and then in 2022, yes, Biden extended his term, right? So, and he was, he basically, I guess he's up. It's complicated, so he won't be able to be out for till 2028. He doesn't have to be. Hold on, let me just show you. He can't be fired from the. Let me get rid of this. He's trying to fire him, and that is not. It's not doable. Okay. So it's because he filled an unexpired term in 2012. He's reappointed and sworn in 2014 for a term ending in 2028. So that is a story. His term ends in 2028. I'm not sure exactly what Donald Trump is trying to plan here, but I can tell you that the Wall Street Journal is not happy about it, and neither is, if you can believe it, Senate Majority Leader John Thune. So let's play what Thune had to say about this.
So as the head of the Senate, Republicans, do you think the president should fire the Fed chair? What do you think that would do?
Well, I think that ultimately the president probably will make that decision based on what he thinks how the markets will react.
And how do you think they would react?
Well, I mean, I think the markets want an independent Federal Reserve. I think they want a central bank that isn't subject to the whims of politics. There is an argument, and a very compelling one, with respect to the policies that the chairman has put out there. And I think that's what the president and many people around the country are responding to. But ultimately, he's going to serve out a term, and there will be a new Fed chairman. So my assumption is, based on what the president said today, that he's not going to do anything about this anytime soon.
Okay. So just to confirm, although his term on the Board of Governors doesn't end until 2028, his position as chair of the Fed expires in May of next year. But Donald Trump wants to cut that short. Okay, so Thune is suggesting that Donald Trump will abide by what they want. But the finance bros are not going to be happy about this. And I want to share with you what the Wall Street Journal editorial board had to say about this. This is about as strong as they get. Do I think he cares? I don't know. I'm not sure what Donald Trump is going for. Maybe he thinks he's going to run a third time for president. Maybe he's just not wanting to be told what to do. I am not sure what his thinking is. But he wants to fire people who don't agree with him. Okay, so here's a Wall Street Journal. This came out, this is today. It came out online last night, but it's in today's paper. It was recently updated. This is from the full editorial board. Headline, firing Powell would be a blunder. Whatever the Fed chief's errors, canning him early would be an economic and legal mistake. And they really go at it. I'm only going to read you part of this. It's often hard to know when President Trump is serious about something or merely creating a distraction. But in case he really meant it this week when he told Republican lawmakers he may fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, we have some advice. Don't do it. Mr. Trump reportedly told some Republicans he's writing a letter firing Mr. Powell and may send it. Markets reacted badly, and within minutes, the president said he had no plans to dismiss the Fed chief. Some advisors are telling Mr. Trump to keep Mr. Powell until his term as chairman expires next May, but others are gunning for the Fed leader. Mr. Trump may not know himself what he'll do. Okay. Yeah. He may not know himself what he will do. So I don't think they're happy about that at all. Now, one more thing in terms of, okay, sorry, I've got that for you, right? I got one more thing. Actually, this is going to be for Crazy Town. One more thing on Donald Trump and finance with the tariffs. You know how he's talking about having all these deals? Well, instead of negotiating trade deals with other countries, he's just telling them, here's the new tariff you have to pay. And by the way, the only authority he can do this unilaterally without Congress is through something like either IEEPA, IEEPA, which is the International Economic Emergencies Protection Act, IEEPA. Hold on, let's tell you. Oh, right, Powers Act. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act will allow you to impose on a blanket across a country a certain tariff. There's also other powers imposing tariffs on specific products, not on countries, that you don't need further congressional approval. But things like Brazil, where he is imposing a tariff not because of any kind of economic emergency, and only because he doesn't like that they're prosecuting Bolsonaro, obviously not lawful, but so much for the Supreme Court ever stopping him. So here's the deal. Even the tariffs deals he's supposed to negotiate, he says, I don't need a deal. I don't even like deals. Really, Donald? Let's play this.
The date you gave August 1st, but the date that you gave August 1st, right. Why stick with the date if you're saying that
payments start on August 1st. The only thing that's really sacred about August 1st is that's when payments start. So they have to start paying billions of dollars to you and people. Are you a citizen of the country? Yes,
no. Foreign countries don't pay billions of dollars to me. When you impose a tariff, U.S. importers are paying it. I mean, maybe the manufacturers will absorb some of it, but at the end of the day, my prices go up. So whatever money this tariff tax collects at the federal government level is coming out of my pocket, and he's not redistributing it to all of us. He's cutting everything. But sure, keep going, Donald.
All right, good. You'll be very happy because you're going to be getting a lot of money. Just like they found a budget surplus. We have a budget surplus of $25 billion. Everyone said, how did that happen? It hasn't happened in many years. It happened because of good management and tariffs.
So these tariffs are going to come out in our prices. We have inflation because of the tariffs. That's what the new news says. One last thing before Crazy Town. When he says we're cutting stuff and you're going to get something back, or that basically you're getting money because the government's collecting these tariffs, what are they doing? You heard. The Senate last night voted to cut the budget for NPR. They actually think that NPR is a propaganda wing for the Democratic Party. Like Sesame Street or teaching kids to count, they don't want kids to be educated. They want to create a dominant class and keep people who don't have wealth or connections ignorant. Let's play this.
Very important that we don't continue to spend tax dollars on things like NPR, which is politically biased. And, certainly conservatives don't want their tax dollars going to support.
Excuse me. NPR being biased. They also think Sesame Street is biased, by the way, but she's speaking to NPR. Let's go.
Support a news entity that is biased, not only biased, but a political arm of the Democratic Party. So I do hope we'll get the bill back. I hope we'll pass this rescissions package and come together and get it to the president.
Yeah, Congress.
Okay. And that's what's happening now. Some good news before we get to Crazy Town. You know how that so-called Genius Act, which was going to create this really dangerous, destabilizing so-called stablecoin and help Donald Trump, the crypto bill, it passed the Senate. And you know how I was really pissed off at the Democrats who voted to get it through because they shouldn't have? Well, it's stalling out in the House right now for complicated reasons. And they, I think eventually this will get voted on, but more details on that tomorrow. Okay. Okay, so if it wasn't crazy enough what we were facing, one last thing before Crazy Town. Donald Trump actually on, I think it was Tuesday evening, was speaking somewhere and started hallucinating a memory that somehow his Uncle John from MIT had taught the Unabomber. Although the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, attended Harvard, number one. Number two, Donald's Uncle John died before Kaczynski was found out to be the Unabomber. So he's pretending or imagining that his uncle had a conversation with him about Ted Kaczynski and how he behaved in the classroom and so on. That could never have happened. The man is losing his mind, whatever is left of it. Now, let's do Crazy Town. This is a good one. Here we go. Oh, shoot. Guys, today is, thank you. I realize I need to put this up again. Deb had it before. Today is the Good Trouble protests on the anniversary of John Lewis's passing. So please go to those Good Trouble websites. Let me just pull that up. We've got tens of thousands set to go to these Good Trouble protests. Here is, I'm going to share, as Deb drops that, as she's done before, in the chat. Let me just share that screen for you before we do Crazy Town, right? This is the Good Trouble page, goodtroubleliveson.org. You can find your protest here. When you look at about, look at this. It's all over. Where I am right now, love him. Where I'm right now, it's just going to be like a half hour of people meeting by a city hall. Go find out where your protest is. It's fun. Make sure that you have a water bottle, a hat for the sun, and act in a nonviolent manner. Okay, let's go to Crazy Town. So Crazy Town today is Lauren Boebert. So Lauren Boebert is one of these Republicans who is acting like they want the release of the Epstein file, but so far hasn't voted to support it. This has been changing day by day. Remember, I told you about the vote in the Rules Committee that failed, so they wouldn't be able to vote on releasing these files. Now, apparently, there is actually enough support in the House to kind of force a floor vote on this, but given all the rules that slow stuff down, who knows when that could happen? It could be a delay of over a week because they're about to go into recess. So I'm hoping that some of these people, like Mike Johnson, well, we'll see, actually delays the recess until these votes can be counted. You need to like have a petition signed, and they have enough Republicans joined up with all the Democrats to demand a vote to be forced, but we will see on that. But in the meantime, you're probably getting contradictory information about Republicans not supporting, but also supporting the release of this information. It has to do with the timeline. So here's something that's utterly crazy. It's Lauren Boebert. I think she's on the Benny Johnson show, one of these guys who got money from Russia. Anyway, talking about Epstein. And she wants a special counsel investigation, but you've got to wait for it because it's Lauren Boebert. You'll never believe who she wants to lead that investigation. Listen up.
Judicial committee hearing. Mm-hmm. That would be most likely the committee where a Ghislaine Maxwell.
Sorry. So I'm sorry. Let me just be clear. I'm saying a special counsel, but she may have had a different idea. She wants a lawyer to lead an investigation. Maybe it's on behalf of the House. Maybe it's a special counsel. Wait till you hear who she thinks would be appropriate. Here we go.
So judicial committee hearing.
Mm-hmm.
That would be most likely the committee where a Ghislaine Maxwell would testify. Would you be in favor of that?
Absolutely. Yes. Of course, we want answers. No one is satisfied with what has been received or lack thereof. No one is satisfied with the rollout of this. Of course, we've heard that Dan Bongino is not satisfied with the rollout of this either. And, I think you hear time and time again what an honorable stand-up man Dan Bongino is. President Trump, he obviously thinks highly of Attorney General Pam Bondi. I don't know her personally, but I know Dan. And he's a wonderful man, and I have no reason to doubt him. And I think moving forward, we need a special counsel.
Okay,
That has got to happen. There has to be a special investigation into
Okay.
this if we aren't going to be provided information.
Now, listen to who she thinks should lead it.
Now, there's a lot of things that Attorney General Pam Bondi is doing well. Of course, President Trump is doing many things well. The FBI is doing a great job. Our Department of Homeland Security is, this mass deportation machine on steroids, and now they have the funding to go after it even more. But this is something, I hope it doesn't become a false idol to Republicans where we just lose sight of everything else. But that doesn't mean we don't want answers. There are plenty of good things to focus on, and still more that we need to do to really get through the next 4 years and hopefully the next 8 years in a Republican majority. God help us, God willing. And so this is certainly important, and I want answers. And maybe that takes that special counsel to do so. Maybe Matt Gaetz can lead the special counsel.
Would you vote?
Matt Gaetz could lead the special counsel. There is a moment with Lauren Boebert where you're nodding along. You're like, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. And then she says, Matt Gaetz. Flippin' crazy. And with that, my friends, can't wait to see you tomorrow. Is it really Thursday? And tomorrow will be Friday. Anyway, love you all. Mwah. Thank you. Thank you to Jason and AJ and Deb. And get into some good trouble today. I know I will. Love you guys.
Hello, prism mates. It's the Gen Taub show. Well, welcome everyone. Let's learn about what is happening in politics yesterday and today. There was hope, and we are together in this democracy we work for. And again, welcome to the Gen Taub show.